You are now watching Metal Over Texas. I recently had the chance to get caught up with some old friends of mine, Mr. Scott Shelby and Bruce Corbett from the Dallas, Texas thrash metal band and housecore recording artist Warbeast. So don't you go anywhere because it's about to get badass. I'm Todd Pack.
I'm Scott Shelby. And I'm Bruce Corbett from Warbeast. And you're watching Metal Over Texas.
In this Warbeast edition of Metal Over Texas, we find out about the multiple tours, the business dealings, the sacrifices, the brutal, long, and winding road with all of its antics and pain-in-the-ass moments. Since the release of Warbeast Crush the Enemy, you've been on quite a few tours as supporting act for quite a few badass bands. Tell us some of the bands you've been on tour with and what you're going to be doing to close out 2011 into 2012.
Well, we did a week-long tour with Through the Eyes of the Dead last year. And then in early January, we went out with Arson Anthem at Heart for a week. And then the Destruction Tour, which was April, May. And then, of course, we got Guar coming up in November and a European tour in March,
And it's interesting that how much we can run this album into the ground and keep going on one album,
right.
Which is good. That's what you want to do.
Who handles the majority of the business matters for Warbeast?
I do a lot of the booking and PR stuff, the updating websites and the social networks like Facebook and MySpace, and a lot of phone calls and emails and stuff. And
Yeah, I kind of arrange to do the money part and the mechanics, setting up practice, writing music, keeping all the employees in line.
So how then did you land the tour with the old school German thrash metal band Destruction?
I just noticed that they were coming on tour and there was an off date before the San Antonio and Houston shows, so I contacted their booking agent about trying to book them here at the Rail Club. And that one thing led to another, and out of nowhere he asked if Warbeast wanted to do the entire tour, which was a shock and very cool for us to get on that tour.
Yeah, and Bruce, knowing that I was a lifelong fan, to kind of actually spark the interest as a bonus for me, which was totally cool on his part. And then, here I am on tour with one of my favorite bands.
Now, Scott, I know you're a long-time fan of Destruction. And I know you know some of the riffs, and I know you even know some of the moves that they do. So at any point in the tour, were you able to get up on stage and actually jam with these dudes?
Yes, I had the pleasure of hanging with Schmear and Mike throughout the tour and hanging with them backstage and jamming with them. And then I asked if they would let me play Bestial Invasion, one of my early favorites, one of their classics. And they said yes, that I could play it at our hometown. And so I practiced it with them, got the moves down. And, the night before I was so nervous, I think I slept like 2 hours. And, but it was a big highlight in my life.
It was cool for us and the other guys in the band to see it as well. Just they let Scott get up at a couple of cities before and kind of rehearse during the sound check.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when they first did that, move together. Just Schmear looked over at me and smiled because Scott was doing it perfectly with him.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, real cool.
For most bands, the ultimate goal is to go on tour and spread their metal worldwide. But as with anything worth having, sacrifices must be made.
Well, we had to leave our normal lives for 5 weeks, and that meant jobs, wives, dogs, cats. And you have to be willing to do that. It's worth the sacrifice. When you work so hard at something and you put so much time into it, then you need to take the risk and do it.
Most of us can only imagine what it must be like to be on tour in a nice, huge tour bus, a luxury bus, from one side of the country to the other, including Canada and all that, for five long weeks. Describe to us what your tour bus was like.
Okay, our tour bus is a 15-passenger van that we bought basically from a Baptist church from Louisiana.
What did it say on the side of the van?
Walking in the light, led by the Spirit, driven by metal. And so it's a big van, but with 6 people, it's cramped. And people can tend to get agitated, and you really find out if you want to do this or not.
How soon into the tour did the van start to break down?
The van started breaking down right off the bat.
1 hour.
We had a 30-hour drive to Seattle or Washington, somewhere up there, and it broke down before we left Texas.
It was like leaking oil or something real bad right off the bat, and every time we stopped for gas, we had to fill up the oil. We didn't even think we were going to get very far to the first destination. That's when we called Walt from Rotting Corpse, and he gave us a few tips on
little support effort. And then you got to keep the team spirit going, because there's people like, oh no, oh no, you know.
It's tough being out there, man. I mean, you know, it is a big 15-passenger van, but when you're out there for 5 weeks, and that's where you got to do most of your sleeping. You know, some of the guys don't like smoking cigarettes.
It becomes a sardine can.
And then, you know, everybody that gets sick, we're coughing and sneezing, and then, you know, farting, and just, you know, it just becomes a...
Yeah.
He don't like cigarettes, but then he'll, you know, almost kill you with the deadliest farts of all times, man. You know what I mean? So,
tuna subs and all that, yeah.
The metal community stretches worldwide, yet at the same time it's a very small-knit, close group of unique type of individuals. So Bruce, you put a post on Facebook asking if some of the fans would accommodate Warbeast whenever they rolled into town. I find that to be a very, very interesting kind of a social networking experiment. So how did that turn out for you?
Well, you know, like I mentioned earlier with the taking a loss on this tour, and the gas prices were peaking out right when we started this tour, we needed to do something like that just to survive. So we almost got a place to stay in, you know, 80% of this shows we did and the cities we played, and it helped us big time. I mean, saving on hotel rooms, people were letting us use their laundry and, you know, place to crash, and saved us a lot of money, and we made a lot of good friends out there and had some good times. You know?
Yeah.
Were there any specific cities that stand out where they were extremely hospitable?
In Chicago, this dude like went and splurged for like a couple of $300 or $400 hotel rooms.
Yeah, 2 of them. Yeah, just, you know, the hospitality is pretty great in the metal community. I was really surprised, you know, and you know, just the welcome. These people don't even know us. We could be mongrels, and we are, and they still welcome us in the house and buy us hotel rooms, and you know, and feed us, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Same thing on the next tour we got with Quar. We're doing the same thing. A lot of people are offering to let us stay at their places, and we're going to run into some of the same people again from the last tour, which will make it cool, you know.
The sale of merchandise is how a band survives on the road. It can mean the purchase of a cheeseburger or a tank of gas. So the next time a metal band rolls through your town, buy something.
Yeah, and it's real gratifying when you play and they flock to the merch stand afterwards, wanting to buy CDs and shirts and autographs and stickers. And, you know, that's what it's all about, is making the fans happy and doing what we love. And when you see that, it's just a great feeling. And, you know, and we, like, sold out of everything practically, you know, by the time we came back. And, you know, plus we lived off the money.
So elaborate on that a little bit and explain to us why the sale of merchandise is truly so important.
Well, especially these days when people are downloading your music illegally and getting your music for free, it's very important that they can't download T-shirts and everything like that. So that's very crucial for a band to survive on tour, is for people to come buy our shirts and stuff afterwards.
What about a per diem or a daily allowance?
Do we need to say how much it was?
Sure,
okay.
Man, we got
We
$10
set
a day.
everybody $10 a day. And if you can't live off that, you need to go find a real job. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can do what you want with for $10 a day. You know, it's your choice.
Yeah, because he would give like 2 weeks in total per diem. So, you know, everybody get like $140 supposed to last you 2 weeks. Well, some of the guys, day one, go out and buy a big bag of weed. You know, that was how they spent their per diem. I was thinking I'd rather have food money. Plus, I've always realized that the fans, just like they give us a place to stay, they'll cook for us, buy us beers and drinks. Plenty of them are there to offer you some good weed to take on the road with you. So.
And those guys that buy that bag of weed, they're like 2 days it's gone, and they're like begging for a hot dog.
Right.
And I'm like,
exactly.
This osmosis is sucking him, life as blood breaks him to boil. Hollow victory in the smoke-filled skies, a kingdom of black inside.